Welcome to the Investor Fuel Real Estate Investing Show, where I interview the nation's top real estate entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and other amazing entrepreneurs to help educate and inspire you to take your business and your life to the next level. My goal is to add tremendous value to you during every single episode of this show. If you get value, I'd love it if you subscribe on your favorite podcast player, subscribe on YouTube, and my very favorite, please share this with your community so we can impact even more entrepreneurs. Let's start today's show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with my good friend Kandas today. We just talked for almost our entire period for the podcast and show, but Kandas and I, we're like two peas in a pod when we get together, I guess, sometimes talking about impacting other people's and having, I love talking about what we're going to talk about the topic today. It's having a clear vision for your life. A lot of entrepreneurs are so focused on their business, but we sometimes forget that the business is a tool to give us a better life. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I don't want to steal Kandas's thunder at all. We're going to talk about how to have a clear vision for your life, which then becomes a clear vision for what you have to go do in business to fulfill that life. So Kandas, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. You and I just need to like book a trip. I mean, we run into each other at different events and stuff like that. And of course you were at Investor Fuel a little while back. And so
That's right.
It's never enough time. We're always like, we don't talk often enough. And when we do, we're like, we're overflowing.
And people pull on us, right? You get pulled in multiple directions to talk about your expertise. I get pulled in multiple directions. And so, yeah, you're right. We need to just make sure that we carve out time for us to completely align and talk about everything that we love talking about together.
So I would say entrepreneurs always need, there's never the best time to have clarity in your life was like 10 years ago. And the second best time is today, right? As they say, so there's something like that. So kind of the new year is upon us here, right? And so there's never a better time that if people feel like they're spinning their wheels and running in circles, it probably is a lack of clarity in their life. I'm excited to talk about this today. Maybe before we jump in, just take a moment and tell us a little bit about you and your background and how you became a clarity expert.
Well, I kind of, it was happenstance. I do believe that helping people gain clarity is a calling on my life. I think that it's what God has put me on this earth to do, is to help people ask better questions of themselves, to question the conditioning that they've kind of put around their life and their lifestyle and why things are the way they are, and do they have to remain the way that they are. I got into this because I was, or naturally am, an integrator. I am one of those people who loves vision. I love enforcing vision for visionaries, for founders of companies, company owners, anybody in that kind of capacity. And I started being taken to mastermind groups. And in those mastermind groups, these guys, as you well know, guys and ladies have all of these amazing ideas, and they're like in this bubble where anything and everything is possible. There's healthy challenge. There's like all of this encouragement. There's all the support, and there's all this like just whiteboarding ideas and how can we figure this out type situation. And then I started thinking about, okay, these people start coming to these meetings and they have the same problems every time we meet. Like, what's happening? So swimming upstream, it was, okay, do they have the right people on their teams? So I started getting involved with some of their teams and figured out, yeah, they did have the right people, but were they given enough authority to do what they needed to do to take the founder out of the day-to-day? Swam upstream a little bit more when some frustration or some friction points started happening in that, to find out that a lot of business owners didn't have clarity around what they wanted for their business, ultimately didn't have clarity around what they wanted for their life. So boundaries were out of place, if there were any in existence at all. Priorities were out of place, out of alignment, and they were just running at a rate to try to keep the business moving that they were sacrificing everything else. And so that's really what got me into focusing on vision extractions with people and helping get that clarity.
Yeah, that's great. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, and especially a lot of folks that are in the real estate space, like their vision be damned, like they need to survive. Right? A lot of people that they started, they either just quit a job or like something happened in their life. I've seen some of the most, I guess, the times that people have pivoted the most towards like struggling to success is when they get backed in a corner and they're just like, there's some sort of life issue happened where they're just like, failure is not an option for me anymore. Like I have to do whatever happens, right? And they make it happen. And then you get to a point to where you maybe are, you're not worried about paying the bills anymore. And then you get a little complacent. You're like, well, you start to either get a little bit lazy. The business maybe struggles a little bit. You go through this yo-yo effect where things are running smoothly. You lose a key person on the team and you get pulled back in, and now you get a job again and, dig out of that a year later, and you're kind of going back and forth. But I think a lot of this from you and I, from our conversations, has a lot to do with what do they want their life to look like, and that being the roadmap for how they resource their business, how much they reinvest back into the business. Like there's a lot of decisions, right? So I think
Right.
let's talk a little bit about let's talk about what I just maybe shared a couple things there, but what lack of vision, like what that looks like.
It looks like inconsistency. It looks like winging it, right? It looks like moving from one thing to the next without an ultimate destination in mind. A lot of times we're taught, goal building. We're not really taught the vocabulary of vision building and what that looks like to have an ultimate vision, ultimate growth towards something bigger than yourself, bigger than what you can even imagine right now. And that's why vision's so important to make sure that it keeps evolving with you as you hit certain milestones. We're taught goal building and that's easy, but what goals do is you check it off and then it's like, okay, what's next? There's not gradual movement or progressive movement towards something bigger. So if we start with vision, then you can back into the goals, but you're constantly moving towards something bigger, something better, that's in the future, and it doesn't outgrow you. Goals are easy to check off, and so that's one thing that I find that happens with entrepreneurs, with visionaries a lot, is that they're great at goal setting, but there's this constant like inconsistency of what I hit this goal, what's next? And so they follow. I hit this goal, then what's next? And they follow again.
Yeah.
So vision really creates like a platform or a catapult to shoot for something bigger. So there's a constant positive trajectory toward something bigger, toward something greater.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, the goal setting is the easy part, like resourcing it and how to get there is a
Yeah.
whole nother animal, right? So people say, I want to X my business this year. I want to 10X my, I want to double it, whatever it is. Their approach, they don't say this, but what ends up happening is they just are committed to working a lot harder,
That's right.
right? Which is
Yeah.
not probably the goal, the vision they had for their life, like ever.
No, it's not. I don't think anybody sets out creating a business to make sure they have another job. That's
Yeah.
not really, and we hear that all the time, right? And as a coach or as a mentor yourself, I'm sure you probably tell people that you're not doing this to have another job. You're
Yeah.
not doing this to have another, not even 9 to 5, but 9 to 9, right? Where you don't stop for the business. And I've watched it play out with multiple entrepreneurs where they've totally sacrificed the life to build this business that then they no longer love because is one, it's not what they thought it would be. Two, it's taken so much away from other really important areas of their life that they can't get back. Making sure you've got the life aspect first dialed in and that you know what the ideal looks like for your relationships, for your fun time, for personal growth and development, all of these things, even financials, right? What you want that to ideally look like and how you want to be diversified and what different levels of financial freedom look like to you. Defining all of those for yourself within a life vision is really important.
Yeah, one of the things that I talk a lot about, I think a lot about, I talk to my group about it all the time, is like it's just a life stage that I'm at. I think if I were to go back 10 years ago, like I had goals of having fancy things, exotic cars or whatever. And then you get there and you're like, man, I worked too hard to waste it on this. Right. And so
That's right.
you just hit that. Not everybody is like me. I will say, like, some people are, have everybody has different goals, and that's fine. But I think that, I think of scaling your business way more now about creating resources to buy back your time instead of
Right.
to buy toys. Now, if you want to buy toys or whatever, like there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing against it.
But I think the real goal is buy your time back so that you can live the life that you wanted to in the first place, right? And so
Right.
I think that that's what a lot of people back to I have a goal, how do I resource it? It's like don't just resource it to hit the goal, resource it to like get yourself out of those seats you're probably sitting in um, that is only going to require you to work harder if you don't get out. If your goal is to double your marketing, you're going to have to double your workload unless you scale up to hire I mean, part of what scaling allows is it allows you to generate more dry powder, if you will, more profit to
Yeah.
invest back into buying yourself out of the seats you're sitting in.
Yeah. And I think vision speaks a lot to the why. You're even chasing that, right? Like you mentioned 10 years ago, like you may have seen where you were going, you may not have seen where you were going. But when you look at goals, they do tell you what you're going to reach and by when. When you look at vision, it tells you why it's important to go that way anyway. And then I think defining your vision makes it easier. I think it makes it easier to help with distractions, to help with those opportunities that aren't really opportunities, that are ultimately distractions and keep you on a growth pattern for ultimate succession.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about how people, let's talk a little about how they can get clarity, right? Because I think it's easy to say, well, just, go get it. And it's just not that
Just
clear.
do
I mean,
your vision. Just sit
it could
down
be
and do your
sitting
vision.
down with a glass of wine and journaling about what you really want your life to look like. But just give us some tips for how people can get more clarity and maybe also balance being realistic. Because I know there's also a lot of visionaries, folks like me, that are like, well, I'm here and I want a 10x it. It's like, I'm not saying that
Yeah.
there is something to be said about this, the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious
Yep.
goal. But there's also something to be said about not creating a goal that's so big that there's no way you're going to hit it. And then a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we're like, we'll just abandon the whole thing sometimes if it feels like we're not going to hit it. It's like you might double it. You didn't 10x it, but you doubled it. That's still a good thing. And like, ah, screw it. I'm not doing it at all then,
That's right.
you know?
Then you just completely let it go. When it comes to gaining clarity, I think that honesty with yourself is really important. One of my core values is I don't cheat at solitaire. And I think it speaks volumes across multiple areas because sitting down and doing your vision requires a level of honesty and depth that a lot of us aren't used to on a daily basis. It requires you asking of yourself some of those deep questions on what does the ideal really look like? If I dream about what this could look like at its ultimate, like what does that look like? Why is that important to me? And then go in 2 and 3 levels deeper. Like if you say why it's important to you, then why is that specific thing important to you, right? So digging really deep. It's hard to do on your own. Having somebody that can pull stuff out of you through like a vision extraction process with guided questions that can help you reach that level of depth is what I found that makes it a little bit easier. But it's the ultimate thing is you can lie to yourself, you can lie to anybody else, but that honesty factor is going to be really important when it comes to understanding what it is you really want and why you want it. And that's what's gonna ground you and making sure you go get it.
Yeah. And I think, there's a couple things that I want your thoughts on is one, making sure your vision is clear with your significant other, right? So, like one of the things, a lot of us as entrepreneurs, some of our significant other, our spouse works with us in the business. And if they don't, you need their support because you're crazy. You're like, you're all over the place, right? And if you're not aligned on where you want to go, then it's only going to get worse as time goes by if you're not aligned. And then secondly, let's talk a little bit about the importance of surrounding yourself with people that lift up that vision and hold you accountable to it instead of you just having it on a legal pad stuffed in a drawer somewhere.
So the first part of that is something that I deal with a lot. It is important to share your vision with your spouse, with people that are on your team, with people that are going to help you go where you want to go. But it's also important, or equally as important, to not filter your vision by those same people. So when I do vision extractions, for example, like I've done one with you, it was just with you, right? Your vision is something that is personal to you and it's as far as you can see right now. We do the work on aligning with your spouse and sharing with them and understanding after you have clarity on what it is that you want. Now, it might be a little bit controversial to do it that way, but I don't want anybody when I'm doing a vision extraction to filter by circumstances, by relationships, by obligations,
Hmm.
right? And so I think that those are important factors to consider when you're looking at doing your vision and also giving grace that people grow at different rates. So just because you and your spouse may not be aligned or maybe even somebody on your team might not be aligned in what your vision ultimately says right now, it doesn't mean that they won't grow to have an understanding about it, right? So there's some grace that has to be given in that as well, but it doesn't mean that you need to shrink anything that's core to
Sure.
you for anybody else either. The second part of that, when you talk about having people around you that can help you, it's 100% where rubber meets the road, right? Having people that know what you want, that can help you go after what you want, that can brainstorm with you on how to get there. When we do vision work, we don't look at the how. We look at the what and the why. The sharing it is where the accountability comes in and where the how comes in. Okay, yep, this is what I want. This is why it's important to me to go get it. And now how do we get there? Right. And so having those people that can challenge you in healthy ways, that can help you see blind spots, that can help you see potholes, in the road ahead. Having people around you that are where you want to go or have been where you want to go is really important. Making sure that they are encouraging, that they are supporting or supportive of what it is, but not supportive in a coddling way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You need people to, I've been using AI for a lot of things and like AI, I use Claude. So Claude is like my biggest fan. It's like, oh, that's a brilliant, everything's like a brilliant idea. Yeah, "Well, this is such an amazing idea, Mike." I was like, "Come on," but yeah, you want people that are like gonna challenge you to say, well, like,
That's right.
okay, hey, I want you to achieve that too. Like, how are you gonna do it? Like, what's gonna keep you from there? And just holding you accountable and maybe even helping you, with a little tough love, but also like I think it's easy for people in our businesses, we often build a plan. And if you're using, EOS or the fuel operating system or some system like that, we like, we you're very familiar with these processes. We'll have
Yeah.
a 5-year goal and we back it into a 3-year, we back it into 1 year. We back it into like, what do I have to do this week? What does my team have to do this week on this very specific thing?
Yeah.
But if people even have a plan for their life, a vision for their life, they often just have a goal of like, in eventually I want to hit this, right? But
Yeah.
there's no daily KPIs or weekly KPIs probably. There's no team meetings about it, right? And so I guess like how do you put in place that discipline, that review process, whether it's weekly or monthly or quarterly, whatever it is, to just follow up and say, you're on track, good job, or you're off track, let's adjust? Or like how do you kind of get it down to a lower level so that you make sure that you're on track and you don't just wait to say, did I hit the goal? Yes or no? It's like, well, you often know way in advance that you are or you're not gonna hit it based on the kinda daily activities, right?
That's right. And that's where the aligning yourself with a group like Investor Fuel or some type of a mastermind where they can feed into you and help hold you accountable, where there's people calling you out for not taking action on the things, right? There's discipline is a key word that you said, creating intentional habits around activities that are going to gear you toward what you want, making the right choice, the easy choice, right? I talk to people, some of my coaching students, even just in something as simple as what they eat, what's going to fuel them,
Right.
is making the easy choice, the most accessible choice, having the healthy choice out on the counter instead of the bag of chips. It's creating those daily habits where the easy choice is the right choice to make, having the accountability around it for people to call you out, not yes men like Claude, but having the people around you to call you out when you haven't met expectations, when you haven't met goals. And there's something really crazy that naturally happens with vision is when you set your vision, your tolerance for anything that doesn't align, when you set it, well, I'll say this too. There's two parts. When you set it and you fully believe it, there's something that happens to your tolerance, decrease anything for outside your vision, the tolerance for that decreases. When you have this pull to what it is that you want and the life that you feel like you can live, there's there's a natural alignment that kind of comes into play, especially when it's on paper, right? Having the thoughts in your head is one thing, but being alone in our thoughts with ourselves is really dangerous. But having it on paper, knowing the direction that you're going, the tolerance for anything that doesn't align is going to fall away. You've got more intention when you've got this vision element written out and you know the direction that you're heading and why it's important. And I say that growth is in the know. Growth is in the know in two different ways. One of the most important ways for me is in the know. So that when you're sharing your vision and somebody is telling you no about, well, I don't see how this is going to work. If you're really dedicated to it, that's what's going to separate the things that'll fall off to the things that are super important. When somebody tells you no, if you're like me and you, right? I know this already from my relationship with you. Somebody tells us no, hell or high water, like we're going to figure out how to do it,
Yeah.
right? It might not be as successful as what we thought, but we're going to figure it out. And or we're going to understand that this is not the right direction that we want to go. Having those people around you that can do that for you is something is really growth impactful.
Yeah, that's great. So for this year, let's kind of talk about just your biggest tip for this year for people can kind of how people can get clarity in their life and then how they can align if they're an entrepreneur, how they can align their business behind it. What's your biggest tip there?
Biggest tip would be just to ask yourself the hard questions. Question the conditioning of what you put around you, what you put around your business, what you put around your life. Get in a group where people can hold you accountable. Find a mentor that you can align with. Get a vision extraction, and then put your vision in front of people that can help you accomplish it. Is probably the biggest thing
That's
for
awesome.
2020. Be intentional in
Awesome.
2026.
Awesome. Otherwise, apply for investor fuel. Is that what you're saying?
Always apply for investor fuel anyway.
Yeah. We focus a lot and we do focus a lot on you and I, are great friends, and I think
Right.
we talk a lot about this. Like, I think
We do.
in a market like where we've been to, a challenging market, I think people have to question more so than otherwise, like, what is this all for? And,
Hmm.
that's up to you to decide. What is it for? Why are you doing these things? And
That's
unless you
right.
know that, you're gonna give up when times get hard because you don't know why you're doing it, right?
Yep, that's right.
Candace, if folks want to connect
Exactly.
with you, where can they go?
They can go to visiondrivenfreedom.com, visiondrivenfreedom.com, or I'm not too big for people to be able to reach me on my cell phone. So that's 704-506-4892. They're always better. My phone rings constantly, but I check text messages before I respond to voicemails.
Yeah,
So that's
awesome.
always going to be a thing for me.
We'll put a link to your site down below here. So good,
Perfect.
good to see you. Thanks for spending time with us today.
Same to you. Awesome.
Yeah, everybody. Hope you got some good value, good insights from today. At the end of the day, business is just a tool to help you live the life that you want to live. It's as simple as that. So if you don't know what kind of life you want to live, then your business is going to suffer. Quite frankly, if you have a vision that's big, miraculously your business will perform at a higher level because it has a bigger mouth to feed, if you will. So appreciate you guys a bunch. We'll see you on the next show. Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.